For this month's first Sunday guided nature tour with Josephine Sculpture Park, I hung out with John Antenucci and Janet Osborn of Lazy Dog Honey. In this video tour, you'll see the process of relocating bees from one place to another, in this case, to JSP. To buzz around with the bees and beekeepers, John and Janet loaned me a bee vest. Let's check it out. John puts on his bee suit to protect him from stinging bees. The point of the protective gear is to cover yourself and seal off any seams so that bees cannot get inside your garments. Bee suits come in all shapes and sizes and with a variety of hoods or veils. John says that white suits are the best because bees' natural enemies are black or dark colored, such as bears, raccoons, and skunks. So bees associate dark objects as the enemy. That's why John instructed me to wear a light long-sleeve shirt and light blue jeans. In preparation of working with the hives, Janet gets the smoker going. She uses paper and batting as well as wood chips for fuel. She lights the fuel and pumps oxygen into the fire by hand to create smoke. They use a smoker when the bees may become upset or aggressive. When bees sense the smoke, they relate it to a forest fire and they go right back into the hive, which pulls the attention away from the beekeepers. Janet says they don't always need to use the smoker, but that they light it every time just in case. Janet and John have stapled the bee boxes together to keep them sturdy as the hives are moved. Then, they work together to carefully move this hive onto the trailer for relocation to JSP. This stack weighs about 125 pounds. John and Janet move the second hive, secure them onto the trailer with ratchet straps, and then they're ready to move to JSP. The bees arrive at the park and are taken to the beehive area in the corner of the park. Bees can smell pheromones, and some people have pheromones that are offensive to bees. Beekeepers smoke their bodies to hide the scent of their pheromones. Janet says, "I don't like getting stung." I don't either, so I graciously accept Janet's offer to smoke me too. They place cinder blocks away from the vegetation so that the new hives will be in the sunshine, where they feel they will be healthier. The hives are placed atop these blocks to reduce moisture at the base. They use shims to level the blocks so the front of the hive tilts downward in case water gets in the hive, so that the water can flow downward and out. Janet and John move the hives into their new homes. They then remove the staples that were temporarily holding together the boxes for transport. John and Janet remove the lid and look inside the hive. The box on top is a honey super, and the only difference between it and the others is that it has one fewer frames in the box. Once the bees fill their winter stores in the bottom, they'll start putting the surplus upstairs. This top box doesn't have much honey. The second box is also a honey super. John pulls out 2 frames. The frame on the right side of the screen is what a wax foundation looks like when the frame is first installed. In the frame on the left side of the screen, you can see the bees draw a honeycomb. The bees are secreting and gathering wax from underneath their wings and putting it into the cells to make a comb. Janet smokes the next layer of boxes so that they can take a peek in the pot. Normally, John and Janet would do a more thorough investigation of the hives, but they're going to wait until it's sunny so that the bees are out foraging. The metal rack you see here inhibits the queen bee from going up into the honey supers so that she remains in the brooding chamber and the worker bees can go up into the honey supers. They do not want the queen bee to lay eggs where the honey is. John explains that on this frame, the outer layer of the semicircle is honey. The dark-colored material on the inner semicircle indicates the cappings of the bee pupae. John can tell from the color of the pupae that they're about 16 or 17 days old. In some places, you can see a white, glistening material, which are 6 to 7 day old larvae. In the next frame, there are some larvae that are 2 to 3 days old. John shares that this information is very comforting. As far as a quick inspection goes, they've done it. Janet and John know that there is a queen, that she's still laying eggs as recent as 3 days ago, and we know that there is some honey in the super boxes. So when the bees forage this summer, they will deposit honey in the super boxes. Some beekeepers used to use deeper boxes, about twice as deep as the boxes you see here. And they used those deeper boxes as brood chambers, and then some shallower boxes for honey supers. In the last 30 years or so, someone came up with the idea of a medium-sized box that would be less heavy to manipulate. Lazy Dog honey uses only mediums. One size fits all. They open up the other hive for a quick inspection. They see that this one is storing honey. John finds the cage that they used to re-queen the hive earlier this spring. You'll learn how that works a little later in the tour. Sometimes the queen dies or disappears, so beekeepers have to introduce a new one. Janet explains that if a hive doesn't have a queen, you will instantly know it, because the hive makes a whole different sound and the bees will be agitated without their leader. John and Janet know that there's a bee in this hive because there's new larvae, but they can't find her. They continue looking for the queen and cleaning out the hive. Janet finds a frame where the bees are crawling around on the nectar and fanning their wings to dry it. Honey contains much water, and the bees have to get rid of most of the water before they can cap the honey. Once the honey gets to 17% moisture, the bees know to cap the honey. John says that he's pleased as punch with the quick inspection and removes the plastic guards at the base of the hives to release the hives. At this point, the bees fly out of the hive and start to fly in circular patterns to orient themselves in relation to the sun. Because bees see in infrared, they will see the sunshine through the clouds. These bees will now only recognize Josephine Sculpture Park as home. And in terms of honey production, the taller hive with 5 boxes is pretty strong. The 3-box hive is a little weak. The 3-box hive has larvae of all ages, but there are not larvae in volumes. John and Janet will probably wait a week and see how the queen performs. If she's not laying more larvae, they will probably replace her and bring out more bees to add into that hive, which will increase the hive's survival over summer. John shares next how they introduce a new queen into a hive.
So there'll be a queen and 4 or 5 workers, and this whole circle here is filled with candy. And then we have a cork on one side and we have a cork on the candy side. When we insert the cage into the hive, the screen is exposed and the bees can get to sense her, get her pheromones, and adjust to her as being there. We will have pulled out the cork up here, and they will eat, the bees in the colony will eat their way in, and the bees that are here are feeding her by eating their way up.
Whoa.
Eventually the hole gets opened and she is released into the hive. That can take 2 days, 3 days for that to all happen. And by the time those 3 days have gone by, all of the bees in the colony know they've got a new queen and what she has, what her odor is.
Thanks for attending our first Sunday guided nature tour featuring Lazy Dog Honey. They sell their delicious honey products direct to consumers and in stores such as Completely Kentucky. We hope to see you soon at Josephine Sculpture Park, where you can check out Lazy Dog Honey's hives from a distance, and where art meets the earth.